I've never really been a sci-fi kind of guy. I was when I was a wee lad. I liked Star Wars and Space Jam. Then I grew out of the space porn storytelling quite quickly. But the 90s, particularly by the Gen X and the Millennials, are seen as a time period where there was still some originality and nuance among TV, entertainment, music and art. That it wasn't so much pushed as it is today and blatant straight down your cake hole of the cultural Marxism and the identity politics that seems to be bleeding into every asset of modernity's entertainment system. But saying all that, did anyone ever see the RoboCop series they did that was released in 1994? I first saw this series, I think, on Amazon Prime during lockdown, but I remember watching it at the time thinking, holy shit, this is pretty prophetic. And back then, I didn't have a YouTube account, but now I do. Let's check it out. Quick refresher for those that don't know the RoboCop lore. You've got Alex Murphey, who is a cop who's brutally killed in the line of duty, and what's left of him is then resurrected into RoboCop, a transhumanist cop. Man's will and consciousness uploaded and wielded into the machine physiology as well as the data. The perfect law and justice enforcer, but also a perfect prisoner of that system. But the bigger picture isn't just RoboCop, it's the whole world around him. There's an entity that's referred to as the OCP. And they didn't just run a corporation or a company. They ran the city. They run the cops. They run the media. They were the state. And on paper, what's seen as a technocratic utopia, in reality for many living in Delta City, it was a criminal and social dystopia. Typical order out of chaos, narrative spin. Back then, it can just be seen under the guise of satire. But today, it feels more and more like a blueprint. I know you could say that this is hardly an original concept, that most superheroes are born out of this relationship between order and chaos and criminality and corruption, these common themes, justice. This is hardly new. Batman had Gotham, countless other superhero world building has this same formula. But what I did like about this series is the self-awareness of the satire it presents. The TV advertising and the news anchoring is pretty hilarious throughout the whole of the series from what I remember.
They're flatulent, they're senile, and the best years of their lives are pretty much behind them. If you're over 60, should you still be allowed to vote? Tune in tomorrow and see what's on your mind with me, Humberto Ortega.
How many of the younger generations would feel that the baby boomers should have stopped voting? Enter in Dr. Cray Mallardo, OCP's new headhunted leading scientist. On the surface, just another twisted corporate genius.
The main obstacle to running the world properly has always been the human element.
Pardon me?
But symbolically, he's the science priest archetype, preaching salvation through machines, promising his invention, the neurobrain, sounds familiar, will run the city with total efficiency.
Yes, now the real work can begin, which of course means obliterating everything spontaneous. Neurobrain will reduce all decisions to an unimpeachable binary utopia. Yes, no, black, white, on, off. Yes, no, black, white. In short, utter perfection.
With his God complex, he comes across as a little bit of a modern Prometheus, trying to steal the fire and spark of life for OCP's profits and his own ego. But failing. Here's the chilling truth though. It needs a human brain to merge with. Mallardo tries to use other brains in this weird little subplot of human trafficking and organ harvesting. But every brain that he tries fails. The system won't work without the right consciousness.
One explanation, isn't there? A bad brain, a brain damaged by stress and human abuse. It couldn't bear the load, could it?
Well, if you don't get this thing working by shareware, we're the ones who are going to be damaged by stress and human abuse.
Now we have Diana Powers. Even her name is symbolic. Diana being the Roman goddess of the moon, the hunt and the protector of the innocent.
What about the human spirit?
The human spirit. My dear, chaos by any other name.
Those powers, that will be all.
The power that is needed to rule OCP, Delta City and Neurobrain. It's lifeless code until it's bounded with a soul or a new brain.
A fresh brain. A brain not yet corrupted by life.
Excuse me, Mr. Chaikin, but I found something significant in the Himble digital plagiarism suit. They actually stole our program and rewrote it to make it look like it was their idea. I'm sorry to interrupt, Dr. Mallardo, but
So Mallardo and the help of his corporate backer make their ultimate move. They kill Diana and upload her brain into that system. And suddenly, Neurobrain comes alive. Diana Powers is therefore sacrificed in the name of this progress. But Diana doesn't just vanish, she re-emerges and in essence is kind of reborn into this system. And she looks completely different too. More untamed, more radiant, arguably more alluring. And she rebels against Mallardo and resists the false priest of technology.
Not this time you don't.
And with that transformation in the story, she goes from Diana the innocent
Who are you?
to the archetype of the divine goddess,
The least you could
the
do is
rebellious
remember
one,
their name.
Lilith, refusing to submit, Ayanna, travelling to the underworld of circuits
Your brain
and returning
is
reborn,
in there, and you,
or Callie,
if you could still
fighting
recall,
corruption
like,
from within.
well, no, it
Then comes a really telling part. In a time of need during the episode, Diana appears to RoboCop himself. She merges
That
into
business
him,
with the big guy
studies his circuitry, his
Big
inner
bad
workings, and with one magical touch, reanimates him.
We don't really know each other, and this is kind of a strange way to meet, but I have a feeling that we've got a lot in common. Wow, someone really messed you up in here. Let me take a look. There's a problem.
I remember.
And if you really want to go deeper into this symbology as well, you have these two characters, right? You have RoboCop, which is the ultimate representation of that divine masculine, but not maybe divine masculine at that particular point, but masculine energy. He's like the ultimate logical processing, thought processing machine. Thought is his main modality and operating in the world. And then you have, before Diane Powers is reborn with that rebellious spirit, she is the compassion, she is that femininity within inside of it. And you could look at this in a symbiotic way, that she introduces him to remembering, because remembering and memory is both thought and feeling. So with that, there's a unification of the mind, or unification of themselves within the subplot. So the layering is stacked upon each other quite deeply. There's another subplot, interestingly, that weaves itself into the first episode. Bearing in mind, the first episode, especially back then, it's not Netflix where they just give you it for the sake of having a show. This was going on pilot for cable television, so it has to tick some of the boxes before it goes out to the masses. But it had another subplot, and this subplot was centered around an opposite feminine character, a lady that was known as Fanny Lamore. Now, I don't need to do a breakdown of that name, it's pretty self-explanatory. And Fanny Lamore was the head of social services, presenting this very compassionate, very feminine, very almost left utopian worldview of compassion for the children.
When it's cold and dark and no one cares, there's still a place where shelter is provided, no matter what your race, creed, color, or gender. Please support the Rainbow Playroom and remember to hug the children.
There's even like some sort of rainbow sing-song story time, which is a bit too real for modernity, isn't it?
Please support the Rainbow Playroom and remember to hug the children.
Well, she gets found out to be a piece of shit and corrupted. So again, all running alongside, there's these themes of divine masculine, divine feminine, the broken warrior being healed by the female goddess, this idea of saturnine control, needing to get people in their feelings, but also needing this technological way of closing in and making things almost unison and globalist with its ideals. It has the idea of corrupt institutions like social care, human trafficking. It's really layer upon layer, and this is just the first fucking episode. Come on, tell me this one a little bit prophetic, no matter what way you look at it. Smart cities with corporate states, hollowed out institutions, technology only animated when it's bound to us, our labour, our time, our attention, our essence. Some go as far as to say with the AI agenda that one of the plans is to use the technology as a vessel for spirits. Interesting thought when you watch something like this. So what's it going to be? Our salvation and liberation? Or are we all Diana and RoboCop, souls bound inside the machine, longing to break free? I think it's easy to look at that time period in the 90s and assume there wasn't as much blatant pre-programming as what we get today. The natural inversion in most popular shows on Netflix, Amazon, etc. Most of the storytelling now is layers on layers of conflicting inner conflict and the turmoil of the character that people call like character building. So much invertedness in the modern take of that divine goddess power. You know, it's normally like a fucked up Netflix show where the woman's battling her cycle of abuse, working a job as a cop, but then sleeping with a suspect and having lesbian tendencies, and just get these dark themes that make it very hard for us to kind of connect and jump to very ancient storytelling. Now in modernity, you have to sit there and think like, I just watched 9 episodes. I don't remember all these fucking shows. They all roll into one. You don't know the fuck to root for because everyone on the fucking series is fucked up because the style of storytelling is very different to maybe what it was in the 90s. But that does not mean for any reason there would not be predictive programming, a little bit of a, oh, this is to come. But what do you think? Is there some kind of warning to this? Or is it just entertainment and I was in a bad place watching this? Thanks for watching.